Hey guys, the Texan Hunter here, coming back at you with another Fishing Planet video. Now, this time, guys, we're going to be tackling a tough one. We are going to be tackling the complex menu system for the Fishing Planet interface. Okay, now this is possibly one of the most complex menu systems of all video games I have ever played, and there is a lot of people that agree on this. All right, it is super complex, and for a beginner, a lot of people will simply quit playing the game instead of dealing with it. So let me help you out and let me walk you through it. Now, I'm going to say it's going to be a long video, so sit back, get yourself something to drink, because this is going to take a bit. Let's go through a quick run through to start off with, and then we will dive deeper into this menu system. So up top we have these right here, and we're going to walk through each one of these. Obviously the globe is where you can choose where to go fishing, and there are a lot of fishing places around the globe in Europe and in Asia, and there's actually a new one in Africa here, and there's some even down here in the Amazon. Okay, each level that you want to go to has to be unlocked. Lone Star Lake is the first level you start out. That one comes free. The rest you have to unlock and you have to buy licenses for. We will go into that later on. Let's go to the next one, inventory. The inventory system for the Fishing Planet is incredibly complex, and I'm going to walk you through all of it later on in this deal, but let's jump to the shop. The shop is where you're going to buy all the things in the game. Rods, reels, lines, tools, equipment, and there's a bunch of stuff to buy. Each thing has a category. I will explain these all to you later on. Okay, missions. Missions are things that you can complete in the game. You do not have to do missions. You can do them, and they are especially important to do when you're first starting off, as the game will walk you through the menu system a little bit. Not very much, but just enough to get you going. Okay, they are also a good way to make money and cash, because each mission you make a little money and cash for doing the mission, and so you can make some quicker cash in the beginning of the game. Okay, sport. This is a live competition area. It shows you when the competition starts, and then you can look at the competition and see what rewards you'll get and different things like that. So if you're into doing competition fishing and want to compete directly with other players, you can do this. Premium, this is where the game developers make their money, because they give Fishing Planet away for free, and you don't have to pay anything to play it. But if you want to get a jump on the game, you can buy different packs that come with different advanced level rods and equipment, and we'll talk about that later. This is your player status, and it will show you where you're at on the game. These are bait coins. Okay, I have 617 bait coins. They're really difficult to get in the game, but you can buy them over here in the premium area. Okay, and you really don't need bait coins, but you can use them to buy special equipment and to do special things. Some things are only available to be bought with bait coins. Okay, so and then you have your game dollars, which you will get automatically for catching fish. Okay. This is the leaderboard. This right here will show you who the top players in the game are for the month. Each month it changes, and so we see here that there are some top players here, and you can look at the competitions, who's won competitions, and if you want to see what the biggest fish is in the game, you can come over here and see what the biggest fish is and who caught it, and even if you want to click on that, you can actually see the little 3D thing over here about the fish and where it was caught and how long it was and all that kind of good stuff there. All right, now let's moving on. Let's get back out of this. Close. And we're going over here. This is your friends list, and if you know other people that are playing the game, you can search for them and add them as friends, and you can see when they're playing, and you can actually cross-play with them if you're on the same system. The game is played on multiple systems: Sony, Xbox, Windows, and Steam. And so if you have to be on the same system in order to cross-play. Okay. This is your settings over here, and there's a little bit here to talk about on that, and this is where your settings are. You can get all that stuff. So let's go back to the globe, and let's take a look at this map first. Okay, so I've clicked on Lone Star Lake. This will tell you the weather, the fishing times of the day, which this is the most important thing in the game. You want to see these yellow parts right here. Okay, this is called peaks, and it will show you if you stay at the same lake 1 or 2 or 3 days. It shows you the different weather intervals there, and you can see that the longer you stay, some days are pretty much the same, but then things begin to change around a little bit, and you might have a different day. And each lake has a different day, or a pond, you can call it. I think people call it ponds. But you want to be fishing in the yellow areas. You're not going to catch much if you're fishing in this dip. And there are also all the nighttime bite indicators, and that's going to be the purple and pink areas. Okay. All right. Next, you have your fish species down here, and this will tell you the different types of fish that are on the lake. Start off with the blacktail shiner, and it'll tell you a little bit about it, or what kind of bait that it likes to eat. Bluegills shows you baits, and then also different types of lures, channel cats, and so on and so forth. It will show you the approximate largest, heaviest one in the lake that you can catch. And so this is kind of where you're going to learn about how to catch the fish. Now, don't pay a whole lot of attention to these baits. They are important starting off, but most fish are going to bite a lot of different baits, not just one. But they do give you a kind of idea of how to target that fish. Okay. License. Each lake requires a license. You can buy the basic license or the advanced license. The difference is that with the basic license, you may have some restrictions of keeping fish, and you'll get fined if you keep some certain fish you cannot keep. If you have the advanced license, you can pretty much keep all the fish. And why would you want to keep the fish? Well, you get money for keeping the fish. You do not get money if you release the fish. Okay, so if you want money, go with the advanced license. There really is no reason not to do it. There's not really a need for the basic license. Okay, travel costs. Each lake that you want to go to has a travel cost associated with it. Okay, and we see to go to Rocky Lake costs $2,000 for a single day. We would have to buy a license, so we'd come over here and buy the license, and the licenses are sold in 1 3-day, a week, month, or unlimited. Now, you have to use Baitcoin to buy unlimited licenses, but generally it's just best to do 1 day at a time and see where it goes from there. And you can extend the license in the lake without having to come out, and so don't worry about that. So, okay. Same thing with travel costs. You can go for 1 day and you can extend them in the lake. Cost $300 per day to extend. Okay. All right. So, okay, so there you go. That's the globe, and like I said, there's a lot of different lakes you can go to, and that kind of tells you this is the most important thing is this right here, and the fish species information right there. Inventory. Okay, so let's start here with inventory. This right here is your little guy, and it shows you your equipment. When you start out, you're not going to have a lot of this equipment. You're just going to be your bare gray guy, and he has a limited carrying capability. So you can see each selection. This is your fish net, and that's a very important thing to have because you cannot keep fish unless you have a fish net. Okay. And so there's two things to understand here: that you have a backpack. This is what you can carry with you to the lake. And then you have your home inventory. Okay. And let's go ahead and talk about this right here. So let's start in backpack. This is what you can carry with you. And if the bigger your tackle box and your vest that you have here and your rod bag, this allows you to carry more stuff with you. Each one has a capacity. We can see that the vest has a tackle capacity of 50 items. I can carry 7 different fishing lines and 5 ground bait components. Okay, this right here is my rod case. I can carry 7 rods, 10 reels, and 12 lines. My tackle box can carry 100 tackles, 7 lines, and 0 ground baits. Okay, so each thing has its in this area right here. It'll tell you about it over in the side menu there. This is for throwing chum bait out, and you have a rod stand over here, and each one of these tell you about the item. Okay, now we notice here that we have this little oil oil dropper. This is the durability. Everything in the game has a durability, and it will wear out and break eventually. Some things can be repaired, some things have to be replaced. The game will notify you when something has reached a level that it needs repair and offer you the chance to pay to repair it. And it's best to always repair your equipment. All right, so here we have our backpack. This is the items that you can carry with you. All right, guys. What you can put in your backpack will be determined based on your vest, your fishing bag, and your tackle box. Okay. Then you have your home. This is basically your home garage or your home shed where you keep all your stuff, and you can keep almost unlimited items in your home. So this is where all your home tackle is going to be that you may switch out depending on different lakes that you go to. You may want to change things out. Okay. Specials are just some awards that you get in during the game. Templates. Templates are fishing rods. For instance, I have a fishing rod right here, and it's a setup and for casting. It's a casting rod. And but if I wanted to replace this one here, okay, I could simply click on this, and then I could just put this over here into there and basically change out this one rod. I have a rod bag that can carry 7 rods, and I can have a rod each set up in each slot here. And then the presets over here are basically pre-assembled rod kits that you can simply just replace as you want to. Okay, now you can actually do that manually, and I'll show you how later. Licenses are the licenses that you've bought and what you own, and so you can see when they're expired. Okay, let's go back here. Let's talk about these right here. So this right here will show you everything that you have with you on your trip. All of your tackle in one place. But if you want to see just rods and reels, this will show you which reels you have. There's no rods in this right now. But I have 2 reels that I'm carrying with me. All right, this is for fishing line, and these are the different types of fishing lines and leaders that I have with me. This is terminal tackle, basically ground bait. You have to be on the right rod in order to see. You have to be on a bottom rod, essentially, that allows to see the different weights and hooks and sinkers. Well, whatever can be put on the rod will be highlighted, and whatever's grayed out has to go on a different kind of rod. For instance, the bobber cannot go on a bottom rod; it has to go on a float rod, and so they appear once you hit the right rod. Okay, so you see your sinkers, your hooks, your barbless. Okay, now you have stuff in your home too that you can look if it's not in your backpack, and you can put that on your rod. All right, so right here's your bait, and these are your different baits. I can see what's in my home. If I wanted to put minnows on there, small minnows, I can do that. Okay, and so you have to assemble these things. All right, so this one right here is jigs. So you have your jig heads. Let's go to a jigging pole. Okay, you can use jigs on a casting or a spinning rod. Okay, and so you can have different jig heads, and once you apply a jig, then the jig bodies come available, and you can put a jig on it like that. Okay, so you can switch these out however you want to switch them out. Okay, so next we have our crankbaits or hard baits. These are your bass jigs right here. Your spoons. These are your ground baits here for carp fishing. And this box right here is going to be your different equipment that you have. That's not all of this equipment right here can go over here. It's basically stuff that I've replaced and haven't sold off yet. This right here will be where your boats go. You can take your boat out, put it there, and you can put it back in. Okay, if you have boats. And this here is basically stuff that you snag when you're on the lake that has no real purpose other than that you can get certain kinds of free items by snagging and keeping certain things. Okay, so let's talk about assembling a rod. Okay, let's get up here on your rods. Now, rods have multiple categories. You have float rods, bottom rods, casting rods, spinning rods. Okay, depending on what type of rod that you want to use, you have to choose that rod, and then the rod dictates what you can put on it. So the Nero is a float rod, so let's put it over here. Okay, now we see that it can handle up to 12-pound test line. That's its maximum line weight. All right, anything past that is going to break the rod, and if you break the rod, it's gone. There's no way to fix it. Okay, once we have our rod in, now we can go and choose a reel. You want to choose a reel with a max drag capacity somewhere near the maximum of the rod. So let's see what we have here in our reel options. Okay, so we have an 18-pound. That's a pretty good one, 12.5. Let's go ahead and throw that on there. Reels that cannot go on the rod are grayed out, and you can't put them on there. Okay, now just because a reel is available doesn't mean it's a good reel to put on the rod. You don't want to put a reel with a 58-pound max drag on a rod that only has the line capacity of 12 pounds, because it's going to easily break it. So once you have your rod and your reel matched up, you need to find some line, and you want to have line about the same weight as your rod there. So let's see what I have already here. There's some 12-pound test mono. That's pretty good. Let's put it over here and see that I can hold 437 feet of 12-pound test mono. That's a lot of line. But if you actually want more line than that, you can actually put braid on there, and braid is thinner, so it can hold more line. Let's see if I have some braid in the right capacity. Here's some 13-pound test braid, and let's see. So we can fit 874 feet of braid on there. Now that's a lot of line. Okay, you don't have to put that much, but you can. So you can put mono or braid, or you can put fluorocarbon on there. Like for instance here, 12-pound test fluorocarbon, and that's 437 feet. All right, so depending on which one you want, you can put different types of line on there. Let's go ahead for this exercise, and let's see, the 8-pound, 12-pound. Let's go ahead and put that on there, 437. All right, now we've got our rod or reel or line. Let's put our terminal tackle on. We need a bobber, so let's go ahead and put our bobber on there. It shows you the bobbers here that you can put on. And we need a hook. This is a lightweight, so we don't need a big hook. We have various hooks. Let's put a number 6 hook on there. Now, you can use leaders with float rods, but you don't actually have to have a leader. As long as the number is red, that means the rod is not set up. Let's go ahead and add some bait on here. And let's just put some wax worms on there. And it turns green. And I don't have any leader on here, but a good fluorocarbon leader will actually help fish bite better. So if you have some fluorocarbon leader, go back to your lines, and I'm going to put a 15-pound leader on there. And so now that's all set up. Like I said, float rod do not require leaders, but if it was a bottom rod, it would require a leader. Okay. All right. So now that's how you assemble a float rod. Okay. Now I'm going to get rid of all this stuff over here, and I'm going to go to templates, and I'm going to do a casting rod, and we're just going to equip that. So we see the casting rod here, and this is a bottom rod, and we see a bottom rod here. Okay, so that is how you use templates. All right, now let's assemble a bottom rod manually. For example, let's use this cat boxer 8'6". All right, now we have that. Now this has a maximum line weight of 47 pounds. Let's go ahead and get a reel to go on there. So we have this Ambusher 8500. It's a 46.2 pound. Let's put that on there. If it says backpack full, that means you can't hold any more reels. So let's go ahead and put the reels back in our home. Okay, let's go with the Ambusher 8500, and let's put that in there. Okay, now let's find some line. I like to put braid on my bottom reels if I can find something in about the same range as the reel there. So let's see what we've got. We've got some 46-pound braid here. Let's put that on there, and we see it holds 983 feet of line. That's cool. Now we need to go to terminal tackle, and we will put a weight on there. Okay, let's put a 6-ounce weight. If the weight is the right size, it won't say anything, but if you try to put too heavy of a weight, it'll come up and say the terminal tackle is too heavy for the rod. Do not put things that are too heavy. You will break your rod and you will have to buy a new one. So if it says it's too heavy, take it off and put things on there. Now, if you put something that's too light, it will also say this terminal tackle is too light. It's okay to have things that are too light. All that means is that you will not be able to cast as far. So you want to find something preferably that doesn't give you a warning, and there we have that. The 6 ounce is fine. Now we need to put a hook on here. Now the larger your hook, the less small fish you're going to catch. So if you don't want to catch small fish, you only want to catch big fish, you want to go with a bigger hook, say a 5/0 hook. Okay, then you will not catch any small fish. If you put a small hook on, say a size 12, you're going to catch little bitty fish. Okay, the bigger the hook, the less small fish that are going to bite your line. Okay, now bottom rods absolutely require a leader. Okay, you want to have your leader about the same weight as your line. Depending, it can be a little bit less, it can be a little bit more. It really doesn't matter in the game. So I don't have a leader that is 46 pounds. I can actually come over here to the shop and go to line leaders, and we'll go forward. We're looking at something in the 40-pound range, 46 pounds. There's 41 pounds. 39 pounds, 43 pounds, 55 pounds, 39 pounds, 44 pounds. Let's go ahead with the 44-pound leader, and it says that this was added to my backpack. So we'll go back to inventory. We will go to backpack, and we're looking for that 44-pound leader. So we added that there. Okay, and now we need to put some bait on, and let's just add some cut bait here, and then we need to put us a bell on. You can get a little simple bell. There you go. And now we have assembled a rod. We have a 47-pound max capacity rod. We have a 46.2 pound reel on it. We have 46-pound line and 44-pound leader. So the maximum drag that we're going to be able to use on this is determined by the weakest component. So 44 pounds is what it is. So you're not going to be able to crank the drag all the way to maximum. If you crank the drag all the way to maximum, it's going to break the line, because the drag has a capacity of 46.2 pounds, but the leader has a capacity of 44 pounds. So when you are fishing, never put the drag at maximum when your line and your leader is of less poundage or weight than your actual drag. So there we go. We've set up a bottom rod and a float rod. Okay, so that's how you use this system right here. Now, let's go to the shop. When you buy rods, each rod shows you over in the right-hand side what the max pound weight is of line weight, and that's the most important thing that you're going to look at. Now, the special editions or SE models, they are only buyable with Baitcoin, but you don't really need to buy them. They don't really offer, if they're just offering that to you. If you want to buy them, you can, but you will eventually be able to buy these later down the road. For instance, this is the Featherlight 6'6", and when you reach level 9, you'll be able to buy that very same rod. Okay. Up here we have different levels of rods, and it shows you right here the level you need to be at to buy the rod. So you've got to be to level 3 to buy this rod, level 4 to buy that rod, and so on and so forth. When you level up, you'll be able to buy stronger rods. So when you buy a rod, when you get to a level, say level 5, you can buy this 7.5 pound rod right here. It is a 7.5 pound max line rod. So when you go to buy reels, you're going to want to find one that doesn't put out more than 7.5 pounds. So each reel tells you what its max drag is, and you want the max drag to be approximately the same weight as a rod if possible. Okay, it can be more than the rod, but you're going to need to keep your drag down so you don't break the rod. The reel is a lot more forgiving than the rod. The rod will break, the reel will wear out. And then of course, same thing with the lines. And you buy the different lines here, and there's just a lot of different lines to choose from. Now if you want a specific type of line, you can not do the whole lines, you can actually just choose monoline, okay, and it'll show you just monoline. Or if you just want titanium leaders, it'll just only show you titanium leaders. So you can choose the menu you want, then you go to the next page as necessary. Okay, tools and equipment. These are your Keepnets. Keepnets allow you to keep fish and accumulate more money before you move on. And so this Keepnet right here, as you can see, the Fish Hut S is the first one. You have to be at level 2 to buy it. And you see that it can hold a 3-pound fish and a total of 8 pounds of fish, which is not very much, but if you're just catching perch and small fish, that's quite a few. Okay, so the next one here is the fish. You have to be at level 4. Is a Fish Hut M or medium, and it can keep a 6.5 pound fish and up to 15 pounds of fish. And as you get higher levels, you're going to want to constantly upgrade these, because the more fish you can hold, you get up here to level 23. This one can hold a 22-pound fish and a total of 88 pounds of fish weight. Okay, and down to the end, you'll be getting, when you're at level 80, which is your top level, you can get this one, which holds a fish up to 485 pounds and up to 1,543.2 pounds of weight in the basket. Okay, now you can use stringers, and stringers are sometimes cheaper and offer more capability, but in the case of stringers, you cannot release fish once you have kept them. And why that matters is, say you catch a really good fish and you've kept some really low value fish and you want to keep the good fish so that you can make the money. If you're using a stringer, you cannot release them. If you're using a keep net, you can go back and put some fish back in the water and make room to keep a bigger fish or a better quality fish that's worth more money. Because if you can't keep the fish, then you don't get the money, that the prize money for catching it. Tackle boxes. The bigger your tackle box, the more that it can hold, and you're going to, if you like to travel with a lot of tackle, upgrading this at different levels will help you carry more tackle with you. Rod cases. Rod cases help you carry more rods. You start off being able to carry 1 rod, and then you can buy this case at level 3, which allows you to carry 2 rods. And then at level 12, you can carry 3 rods, and so on and so forth. And then the maximum amount of rods that you can carry is 7 rods. And also the rod case allows you to carry extra reels and extra line. Waistcoats. This is basically another form of tackle box and allows you to carry a certain amount of tackle with you and lines. So we see 5 tackles, 1 line, no reels, and no ground bait. Okay, rod stands. At level 6, you can buy this single rod stand. At level 14, this dual rod stand. And each one of them has a different capacity and stuff. The only things that really matter on these are the fact of how many rods it can handle and whether or not it has an alarm on it. And the only ones that actually have alarms starting at level 41, you can get this one. It holds 2 rods and has alarm. Then at level 45, you can get this one, which holds 3 rods and has a bait alarm. And then at level 50, you can get this 4-rod holder, which is the largest you can have in the game. And yes, it does have bite alarm, which will alarm you if fish are pulling or biting the line. Okay, so that's tool. Terminal tackles is really complex. You have hooks, simple hooks, barbless hooks, carp hooks, and offset hooks. So simple hooks is what you'll start out with, and they're basically just organized by size. It doesn't really matter what type of hook it is. You know, you can use anything on anything in this. You can have a very small hook, like a size 10, and you can put a large minnow on it. The bait is not realistic in this, in that the size of the bait and the size of the hook have no correlation. The only thing that the hook affects is how big a fish you can catch. So on size 10 hooks, you'll catch the smallest fish, and then if you have size 3/0 hooks, you're not going to catch little tiny fish. But you can use any bait on anything. Okay. Barbless hooks. Barbless hooks are all bought with Baitcoin, and what they do is whenever you catch a fish using a barbless hook, you will get more experience points and money for catching that fish versus catching it on a simple hook. Carp hooks can only be used on carp rods and with a carp fishing system. So unless you're into carp fishing, don't worry about them. They can only be used on a carp rod. Offset hooks are for different types of rigs that you can get later on, which would be these Carolina, Texas, and three-way rigs. Okay. Now bobbers are bobbers. The most important thing that you want to see about a bobber is the actual weight of the bobber. So this right here is a medium weight bobber, whereas the chubby is a high weight bobber. Then there's extra high. So lightweight bobbers, this is an extra low bobber. The bobber actually affects how far you can cast the float rod. It's kind of like the weight. The lighter the bobber, the shorter the casting distance. The heavier the bobber, the longer it can cast. Okay? And so there's quite a few different options on bobbers. There's glow-in-the-dark bobbers. If you want to do night fishing and use them, and then all the way up to this Waggler Extra Heavy, which you would use on a very big rod. All right, sinkers. Sinkers. There's multiple types of sinkers here. The most using on bottom rods are going to be these simple sinkers right here. These sinkers right here are going to be usable only on rigs, these different types of rigs. Okay, and you can get sinkers all the way up into this level here. You can get heavy sinkers depending on how big a sinker you can use depends on the strength of your rod. So you do not want to overweight a rod. Okay. Feeder cages. Feeder cages are basically used in carp fishing and other fishing. Essentially, it's going to replace your weight, but instead of just being a weight, you can fill it with different types of ground bait components, and it can act as a chum cage. And later on in the game, you can use those things. Rigs, as I've already discussed, the different types of rigs use different types of weights, and you can use these different rigs, and I'm not going to go into this too much. Let's go to lures. There's jig heads, soft baits, bass jigs, hard baits, spoons, and spinner. There's a lot of those. That depends on the fish that you're fishing and what they like to eat, so you choose those, and that's pretty self-explanatory. You have baits, and they have a lot of different baits in here, and you know that's why it's important to go back over here and see what your fish species is and what they like to eat. Then you can come to your shop and go to baits and figure out which baits to buy to take with you when you leave your home and travel to the lake. You want to take the baits with you. There are lake stores that you can go to, but they're very limited and don't all have all the baits. So at your global store, before you go to the lake, is where you want to stock up on whatever bait that you're going to take with you. Okay. Ground baits. These are used for the feeder cages that we talked about and the sinkers. And so you buy these different things, and there is a whole lot of information on how to mix these things together with the different flavors and what they are good for. And there's quite a bit here. We will not go into that. Boats. Now you have options of kayaks, John boats, these boats right here, and all the way up to fancy dancy bass boats. Okay. And boats are not really necessary in the game. They allow you access to certain areas, but every lake has different places that you can go without a boat and fish. Some lakes have trails that you can walk around the shore and access, and most lakes are small enough. If you have a good rod that casts far enough, you can cast to pretty much any place on the lake. There are only a couple lakes that are very big, special areas that you really need a boat in. Unfortunately, none of the boats in Fishing Planet have any kind of rod holder. So you have a boat, but you are down to one rod only, and you cannot use two rods while in a boat, kayak of any kind in Fishing Planet. So most people just use the boat to go someplace, park on the shore, and then use their rod holder. And we've already talked about licenses that you can buy, and then there are different special options that you can buy here, and you can expand things with these right here. Okay, so this is the premium shop. It takes you over here to the premium. Let's go back here. And last but not least, if you want to exchange Baitcoin for actual game dollars, you can use this to exchange Baitcoin. Like for instance, I have 617 Baitcoin. If I wanted to exchange 37 of them, it shows you what the exchange rate is for game dollars. There's no way to exchange game dollars for Baitcoin, only Baitcoin for game dollars. Okay, so let's come back here on inventory. I want to show you this right down here. These right here, this is a very important thing to pay attention to, because it actually shows you how many items you have. Tackle items right here. I have a capacity of 162 tackle items, and I am carrying 155 tackle items. I have a capacity to hold 26 lines, and I have 16 lines with me. I also have the capacity to hold 13 reels. That is including the ones that are on the rod. And so I have 7 rods that are fully equipped, so I have 7 reels, and then I can carry 6 extra reels beyond that. And this is for ground baits. I have a capacity to hold up to 15 ground baits going to travel with me, but I don't have any. So it's important to pay attention to this, because if any one of these fills up and then you try to add something else, it's not going to allow you to add it. It's important to note that whenever you disassemble a rod, the reel always goes to your backpack, not to your home. And this will eventually fill your backpack up. The simple thing is just move the reels back to home. You don't want to get rid of them. You can keep them for later for different kits. This slot right here is reserved for your ground bait recipes and the different types of recipes and stuff that you're carrying with you. And this will be where you'll mix your recipes up and add your components. So basically you can mix and match. And you have this many slots available. If you use them all up, you can actually add one. And this is where you'll do all that. All right, guys. Well, that is all I can think of right now to show you about this. There's probably more stuff that I didn't cover, because this is a very complex menu system. If there's still something that I didn't cover, please comment on the video, and I will try to get that to you as soon as possible. All right, guys. Until next time, this is the Texan Hunter reminding you to always walk softly and carry a big gun.